good day, and welcome to another edition of Vantage Point. I'm your host, Svetlana Marshall. Today we'll be talking about youth affairs and the empowerment of Guyanese. In studio, we have as our guest the Minister of Youth Affairs within the Ministry of the Presidency, Minister Simona Broomes. Minister Broomes, thank you so much for coming.
And thank you for inviting me, Svetlana.
Minister, I know before taking office, and so we'll talk about youth affairs and we'll talk about empowerment of Guyanese. But I want to touch on first your life before getting into office. I know you did tremendous work in tackling trafficking of persons. Tell me about what would have caused you to deal with that very important issue.
I think really what prompted me, Svetlana, is my experience. Being in the extractive industry for decades, witnessing, looking at situation, the exploitation of women and so forth. I think I just could not have allowed that to just go by and not responding by nature. That is how I was raised. My father always have us out there in community work and reaching out to those vulnerable and those without a voice. So I mean, it's something that is within me, but to really form the organization, it was based on my experience.
And so in 2013 you were recognized by the U.S. State Department. So in 2013, as I was saying, you were recognized by the U.S. State Department. It came at a time when you had rescued a number of women from interior locations right here in Guyana who were trafficked by persons who promised them employment, who promised them that they would return to their families. How that was for you, and maybe how many women to date you've helped come out of that terrible situation?
Well, I was Atlanta. The award came at a lonely time because back in 2013, when I received the call that I was awarded and have to travel to the U.S. to meet with the Secretary of State, for me it was a humble moment. But after the award, of course, coming back to my hometown, my dear, loved country, Guyana, things turned around for me because, it was lonely. I go to conference. I'm out there in the streets. People don't want to associate with me. You're a troublemaker. You're dealing with an issue that is against a government. And if we associate ourselves with you, this use of baggage. But returning after the award, I think going to seminars, for example, UNDP seminar, and person would stand up and recognize me because I've gone to seminars at that level and person say, oh, and now let me introduce you to the troublemaker. So always, doing the right thing and fighting for risking your lives, and so, it comes with its challenges. But outside of that, what it allowed me to do really was to get the attention and the focus. I was not a troublemaker. I was just fighting for change and want to make a difference in the lives of women, because in the Women Miners organization and fighting for women, also men benefited from it. And one of the most important things that happened there is that women, after the advocacy, the level of advocacy, women were proud to say that I'm a miner, I'm going into the interior. Before then, persons shy, because if you said you're going in the interior, persons label you with H word. But after that, we broke the ceiling out there. Even at the embassy levels, we went to the U.S. embassies at the time. The IMO head, he said, let me apologize to you ladies, because before I just really thought it was women supporting their husbands, not really knowing that women own their own equipments and their own property. And I've seen more than 150 something women. We traveled to the U.S. together to attend different conferences, food and beverage, women who looking to come out from mining and expanding other businesses. We've been overseas. Women were able to go and buy their own ATV in Miami. So we really did a lot in terms of training. Have young girls go to Carnegie, send them to Carnegie, boys also. But I have really seen a lot of young girls that I've dealt with, starting from age 12. In fact, I had mothered and had one over a year in my care, looking for their parents. But in all the women that were rescued, it was a total of 50-something women from trafficking, and I would say girls, because most from the 50-something, we had one male who was an Indian national, and most, about 90% were below the age 17. So, it had its period, but again, I did it because of my heart. My heart was there. I believe in it. I believe that people, all of us, should be treated equally. And it's not that I'm a giant, but this is my purpose. I hate to see advantage. I hate to see the vulnerable. I hate to see people, downtrodden and downplayed and, be pushed around. So, this is how, like I said, I was raised with my parents, and here I am today. But it was quite an experience. Some persons at that time were saying to me, you shouldn't do it. Why do it? If you don't do it, you have a better life. Nobody would be after you. I was locked up by the police, the whole saga. And today, it is all paid off. I have sad feelings. It is always sad. I don't really like to speak on this topic, because every time I'm to reflect, as you ask me the questions, if I can see all these babies before me, and knowing their lives was really damaged. They were battered at a tender age. It is still with me, because it's not easy to come back into society.
Do you think at that time enough was being done to really tackle the issue? I know at the level of your organization you were fighting it on the ground, but do you think government at the time had done enough to really help address that issue?
Well, no, it was not, and it was cleared in the report. We could have been sanctioned. Things like trafficking, you can't be in denial about. It happens all over the world, and as a government and as a people, things are happening. You just got to accept. You have to deal with it. If you're in denial, and sometimes you have persons around you advising you, and you all take all the different advice. But if it is happening, I say that we all come together and deal with it. I don't think that everything, even as we speak now, while a lot has been done, there's still more work to be done on it, because for me, one victim is one too many, and it's something that is dear to my heart. I always pay attention to it. So no, enough is not being done, and this is with no to say criticizing a government. The evidence was out there, and what transpired. Did I reach out to working with the government then? Yes, I did on several occasions. We had, while Robert Assad was at Natural Resources, sometimes when the situation, if I call, I need a vehicle or what, so they would have had some persons. I would have called the minister then to meet with her. After long fights, and she would have refused to meet with me after engaging with me for the first time and seeing and listening to the victims. She would have engaged with me more, but I did not think at all enough was being done, because it was more of a denial. And then, as a citizen, as a woman, as a mother, I had to be. My life was in danger. All these threats, the harassment, and so forth. I think it was uncalled for, but to God be the glory. Great things He has done. My Bible teaches me all things work together for good. But if I had to do it again, I would have gone all over again. Even if it is to see that one girl or that one boy saved from modern day slavery, I would do anything to prevent that. I hate to see a victim.
What you said much more, you said there's room for improvement, as in any situation there's room for improvement. What are some of the measures you would like to see implemented in tackling this issue, coming from the background of somebody who would have fought, who would have been recognized, or helping to combat trafficking in person? What systems you think should be put in place?
Well, I think at every levels, one at the level of the police, I want to see the trafficking being treated as a crime as it is. Trafficking go hand in hand with guns and narcotics. But we look at guns and we look at narcotics as if those are crime, and trafficking in person, it is just a talk. And to see specialized unit focusing on it, all the players, social protection, just dealing with the victim aspect. In the court, I've seen some things happen. I mean, when I fought so hard to see the pimps pay the fine. I mean, it is in the act, the 2005 act, and I saw some magistrate pulling that part out of the act and implementing it. I think it was refreshing for me. I think they should pay higher penalties, to be quite honest. If you pay higher penalties, then you would eradicate it. 30, 40, 60 million dollars you can bring back a life, but it should be something so stiff that one would want to think twice. Because again, I say, when you traffic a girl or a boy, especially sexual exploitation, their lives, is gone down. While you make money, yes, you might go to jail and you come out, you still have your life that you can get on track. So those are some of the areas. I look at what happened in Trinidad. I did share the post, and I did identify the network, when there was a raid, the seriousness of the raid, and the police was there, no less than the commissioner himself was on the raid. You had the medical team coming in one side, you had counselors on the other side, you had the social services kicking in, rather than have the social services as if you're clashing with the police and there's a clash. Social services coming after the raid, the level of seriousness, so that you don't have to expose yourself getting involved in these raids. So a lot was done. Yes, and you would have seen that we've moved up on the tier watch, because trafficking in person is all over the world. You see what is happening in America. I was following a story when there was this big wealthy guy and how many persons, but fortunately or unfortunately, by the time he started to call some real big names in the game, they said that he committed suicide in the prison, and he died. And last on that, I mean, it was no less of a person than the Secretary of State then, John Kerry, who said that if you were to ask the question where in the universe trafficking takes place, it would have been a trauma throughout the entire universe. So it is not to say that it's a crime if once you know or you hear or you suspect. You don't even have to hear nor suspect. It exists, and so we all should be up in prevention mode. We prevent and we educate. There are the 4 tiers of P. And if it happened, then we prosecute. And I say, when we prosecute, we prosecute.
Yeah.
But prevention for me is one of the key pillars in the 4 tiers, so that we prevent persons.
Minister, in 2015, you were appointed minister within the Ministry of Social Protection with responsibility for labor. Tell me about your period in that ministry. I know that at the time they called you the woman with the broom. You went in and you swept up and you cleaned up the place. I recall going to Mabura Hill with you, where they have DTL. Tell me about your experiences and what were some of the achievements you would have made under that ministry.
I think the experiences was really sad. I mean, for me, it was new. I could not have imagined the state of affair at the Ministry of Labor. I mean, the law provides for employer-employee relationship, and it's to getting that labor relation, the industrial there, working with mutual respect. I think it was lacking. And oftentimes, I mean, on both fronts it was lacking, both employee and employer, but most times the employer gets away. So I think to bring the balance and start a fight to bring the balance there, it was quite an experience. It was challenging, but at least, workers felt as if they were protected. They have a right, which they are protected by the law, and all I did was to enforce what was there. I didn't bring no new law in the book or anything. I mean, I just did what I had to do, which was the right thing. To be fair, I swore I took the oath without fear. It will, and that is what I did at the Ministry of Social Protection and Department of Labor. Yes, while many persons received their wages and better relations started to kick in there, but again, workers felt, and even businesses, while some would have pushed back from behind, they had a lot of businesses who complied, who came in. We had training, we had workshop, and believed in making a difference in the labor relations. So we did have several businesses coming forward. Of course, you can find the one and two who feel that you're too big to follow the rules, but you had to follow the rules whether you're big or small, whether you're down or up. You had to follow the rules, and sometimes we think that rules are just for the persons to the bottom, and those at the top escape. Well, taking ministry and swearing to the oath and take your job as serious as I do, you're talking about equality. It was straight across. If you're right, you're right. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And I really love the act that, we got to clean it up a little and do some work on it, but it really makes decent provision for workers. And it's something I always encourage workers. You have a responsibility also. When you get a job, you're committed and you have your contracts, be it verbal or written, and you must take those seriously. I think there's a culture in Guyana that needs to swing off. Employee feel that you got to go to work. The employee, you go when you want, do what you want, and that is it. Or you go to work and you don't do anything. Employer feel like they can do what they want and you don't have a right. So it is on both fronts. But again, I spent 6 months there, and Guyanese people would judge that 6 months. What I did, yes, I received criticism, yes. Were people happy? Yes. Did the ordinary man felt in power? You're a journalist. You've traveled some of the trail, and it is written, it is out there, and from my mind, I think that the Guyanese people were empowered and they felt comfortable, and that is why we are here, and we was called there to serve, and I did nothing but serve.
You then went on to the Ministry of Natural Resources, and so you focus a lot on syndicates, and I also recall you dealing a lot with tackling the issue of illegal mining. Let's start with illegal mining. What were some of the areas affected as a result of illegal minings, and how that illegally mining in the country affects the economy, affects persons who are doing legitimate mining?
Well, you see, when people use the term to illegal mining, sometimes it really confuses persons. For example, you might read in the papers a man didn't have permission to operate, but he was mining, he was an illegal mining. When all it means, sometimes the gentleman or the person or the woman might have even applied, and the system there sometimes takes so long to kick in. But something happened, and you just have this big broad brush on illegal mining. And so it is something I would have loved to see happen, where I asked the commission at that time to define exactly what you're talking about illegal mining. Every miner, if you don't have your dredge license expired yesterday and something happened today, you're illegal. So I think it really puts a bad image on the miners of themselves, because sometimes these things are all over in the media and that kind of things. I was looking at more enforcement, compliance also, but looking to see how the kind of services we provide. And one of the things for me that has always been lacking is that we should hold the systems and the person regulating also accountable. Nothing should be whenever. If you apply for permission to work, you should have a time frame. If you receive a cease work order and the regulation says within 3 days and it's going to be lifted and so forth, you do that also, so that the compliance level was not just based because the minors wanted to do what they want to do, when they want to do, and how they want to do, but the system of itself, and I see now, I don't want to speak a lot on that, the system of itself, I see a lot of things taking place that was in the pipeline. But yes, I did address the issue with syndicates, because you would have recalled we had serious problems when person talk about bullyism and landlordism and all the different isms. And so to address that, you've had to come, we would have had to come really broad. One, at ensuring that the smaller minors, who were the persons there complaining of being exploited, that you address that. How do you address that? Bringing them together, pooling them, I think was unique, because even if somebody, and I hear a lot of noise, and because people don't know mining, who get how much acres, 1,200 acres is the standard size for a block, the standard size, not now all the time, that most time was given. And so what happened there? Somebody could get 1,200 acres of land and then got 5 ounces of gold. They leave it there also. You understand? So it is not, and the land that you get with mining is not a lease you get in 100 years and all of that. It has to be renewed on a yearly basis. You get it to prospect, and when it's finished prospecting, you got to convert into mining. It's very, very expensive to maintain. So looking at all those and the shortage, equipment, transportation, how do you pool the smaller miners, making them comfortable in different areas, zoning off areas, having them to get a fair cut of the pie, where they of themselves would have gone, identified, do the research. They got maximum support from the GGMC. It was approved by the cabinet, and they come together, have their own businesses. So you work. If I don't have enough money to hire a truck, then 2 of us, we can sub, maybe 3 we can sub, because one of the biggest problem we have inherited when we took office was the fact to deal with minors and big one fighting small one. And the syndicate initiative just mellow that away. Everybody, they did the DMA, they're there for decades, everybody have their own challenges. The large miners do have challenges too. And they come together with the syndicate, and they came together with the women miners. And so coming to deal with government, they come together on a front, which was really, really unique, because they're not politicians. So they're dealing with an industry, not individual persons. And I really like to see how the whole aspect in terms of miners fighting each other mellow down and find its way really nicely. And the smaller miners of themselves felt comfortable and sit down at the bargaining table. The same entitlement, all the concessions given to the larger miner, to the women miner, to the syndicate. So it trickled right down, and that was the idea behind the initiative, was to fill the gap. Yeah, going into natural resources, I mean, as a miner, it was a personal sacrifice to me. Regardless of the naysayers and the gossip and the rumors, I have had to literally give up what I fought for all my life, what I love most, as a woman. And I don't think, I would want somebody else to share my experience. My son also, pull him out of the sector, because, you want, if you're in leadership, and so forth, you don't even want the speculation, because people don't really understand, and you're talking about conflict of interest. So sometimes you have to make a sacrifice. I did that just to ensure that I can be genuine, the focus was right, everything, get the job done. His Excellency asked me to go in there based on my experience, to remedy some of the problems, in which one was the big wrangling all in the campaign trail, persons talking about landlordism and that kind of thing, and to really dilute that problem nicely. I was pleased with the level of support they got from government because they got the land that they wanted. They had an opportunity to work it and then pay. And by the way, there's a system, there's a structure, and I think you would have seen the booklet on it. So it is in no case that there's something behind the door or something that Broomes got to benefit from. Oh no, it's something you got to register your syndicates. You have your constitution and things like that. Very, very transparent initiative, and I'm happy that I was given that opportunity by the Guyanese people and His Excellency coming, blazing the trail from the bottom as a poke knocker and all the way up, making it as a minister within the same sector. I think it was just designed by God, and I'm just happy that I was able to serve in that area. That in itself, I mean, just quickly had its challenges. When I sit down in the parliament, you had male and female from across the other side of the table. Oh, don't matter with she's a poke knocker. You know what I mean? And I used to say, I'm a proud poke knocker. We are members of parliament, and by the way, you're on the opposition side, and I am here as the minister within natural resources. So as a woman, you still had to represent that even up to now. Yeah, you still had to represent that. So it was no walk in the park there. But again, the minors are there, and it is written. The job I did. I don't really see a perfect person, but I tried my best. I give it my big shot. I respect the country and the people of the country, and that is why I had to make the sacrifice to do the right thing. You first got to be able to live with yourself. My father would have said to me, anything you do in the dark, just imagine there's the brightest light shining over you. And the history is there. It is a sector that I walked away from. I was happy not to be labeled with corruption and different things that hanged around it for decades. So here I am.
Before we move on to your current portfolio, how many syndicates were established under your watch when you were there as minister within the Ministry of Natural Resources?
Well, we had 16. The total amount we were looking for is 20, but you've had to gone through the requirements.
Mm-hmm. And they're now fully operational?
Well, I am not sure because they have to have their elections, and I think that when you have rules, you follow them. I really don't like the idea. I come from civil society that you have organizations just running based on a name and not doing the right thing. You have your own constitution. You're not following it. So I don't know what is happening, because one of the things you understand is that, I was at social protection, and when I leave social protection, I have to leave the hat there and move on to something else. I've done my part. I've moved on from natural resources, so I wouldn't be able to tell you, and I don't like to speak on things that I'm not accurate about.
Okay, so let's talk about youth affairs. Since your appointments, tell me some of the issues you were able to address and you've been tackling. I know that you went into the prisons and that you would have met with both male and female prisoners. You've also been engaging a lot with, of course, as expected, a lot of youths on the ground, going into communities. What has been your experience?
My experience, first thing, again, I always love working with young people. Finding myself now at youth affairs, I can talk to young people. I can engage them all the time. Motivates me, makes me happy. If I'm down, I can get into a room, share some energy with young people, and really talk to them and leadership. Guyana, we all know that we have a youthful population. We have a lot of young people. But what I see happening a lot, and I myself had to step back from it, is everybody look in our society to paint the worst things that is happening around young people, to put it out there. The positives for them to sop up is not even out there. Most times if you read what is happening in Ghana, if you were to go through the papers, if you were to look at social media, it's most of the negative things. And I would want to ask all of us that we be mindful of what we are doing, because a lot of times we actually contribute into some negative impacts where our young people they're concerned. The challenges are wide. We are the large amount of young people who, for some reason or the other, felt neglected, felt that education didn't matter. That is okay, but it's not only education in terms of going to university, but even to learn a trade. Young people felt that that didn't matter because you could have done everything and still
be unemployed.
You're not employed. You still pushed around. You have no voice. The older folks always seems to know it more. The older folks not making way. It's as if I own this, I own that. So if Svetlana is excellent at IT, and because Rhonda is in IT for 60 years, and of course Rhonda by then going to be 60 something, 50 something, no disrespect to age, then Svetlana talent is there suppressed and not getting to that ceiling. And I really believe when it comes a certain age in your life, when you're not given the opportunity to explore, to evolve, it really affects you, because as you creep from one age to the other, your passion sometimes change, your focus is shift. You end up, a male might have go get married, got children, a young girl too, settle for anything. So settling for anything was one of the orders of the day. Real opportunity, I use the word real opportunity, and the level of support and the type of support that is needed for young people. For example, His Excellency now have the youth corps, and we have
on the Linden Highway.
On the Linden Highway, and the plan and the whole idea is, when they're finished there, not only that you have a certificate, but the government moving in to equipping you. So you did well then, you did well when you leave in there, you can get your package, mechanic, you got a package with your tools. If you did garmentry, you can get, sewing machine, equip you for the world out there, train you how you get in a job or entrepreneurship. Because with those skills, a lot of young people can go out there and working themselves. And I see that campus really growing into a state-of-the-art complex, coming down based on the vision of His Excellency. So coming out from that campus there, it will be expanded. International university type, better living accommodation and everything. Highest type in how we run some economic project there. So while you spend 10 months on campus, some of the things that you do in terms of value added furnitures and that kind of thing, how can you involve there and some proceed, because right now they have a stipend, and from the stipend they have to save a part of that saving. So I see all of that really growing. So for persons who, listen, this is your purpose. You don't want to go to university. Not everybody will go to university, get a degree, go and do a master, PhD. But still, you're educated. You have an opportunity there at the campus to be certified. TVET give you the certificate. We want to see, classroom there, really high-tech IT, touchscreen. For persons who might want to do English or maths even while on campus, young people up there, the traffic department goes up, the driver's license, they get the package, they have classes there. So coming out from the institute, you can come out with your driver's license, and really it's a lot of work. Education is big on the table, and you would have heard none other than His Excellency preaching it all the time. Education for our young people, support base for our young people, and the most important aspect also is we as parents, we got to understand that we are raising our children. They're raising up one, two, they're getting older, and they're coming into the world of work and society. And so I think certain pillars and molding and vision, certain conversations, people say, I don't want to raise my children like when I was raised, but there were certain pillars that I was raised with that never go away. About stealing, about lying, about showing sense of responsibility, about your ambition, about your identity. I mean, some basic fundamental things that we took for granted is what is lacking in our society. And again, we just keep adding on that. So to talk about the challenges I'm not the Minister of Youth. They have the Minister of Social Cohesion, Youth, Sports and Culture. Yeah. But youth affair is very, very wide. It's broad. And so you've mentioned that you might see me at the prison today, you see me on campus tomorrow, you see me in school the next day, you find me by the road corner on the following day, you find me in the dance on the following day. And we got to bring the whole equality also across the 10 administrative region. The same benefit that you can get living in Georgetown, you should get it at Port Kaituma, you should get it at Bardika, you should get it at Madhya. Equality for young people, the level playing field, so to speak, in terms of education, in terms of opportunity, in terms of exposure. And so we have to ensure that we do the balance. So youth affair, Svetlana, is so much, but what I am happy to say here today is that all is not lost with Guyana's youth. We got some smart people out there, and I feel that once they start to understand that people care, real opportunity, genuine opportunity, and genuine opportunity just don't come when you give a young person an opportunity and it don't work out and you just leave them there alone, but we go after them, ensuring so it is a deeper concern than just the top surface. I've had a little boy from Leopold Street, and sent him to school, and he went back to school, and then he ended up dropped out again. Now he's at the Kurikura campus and he's doing excellent. So I'm just bringing that reference and I leave him there. I mean, what else? But now I was there a few days ago and they said, he's like ambassador on this campus, and he really demonstrates good leadership, but with no parents, no mother, father in his life, even if you might have your aunts and all of that. You need genuine support. So when it comes to youth, I would really want to experience the government, the neighbor, the teacher, the opposition. If we are fighting for Guyana and a better Guyana, the youth issue is, it's wide. It's everybody's business. But I would want to see more persons with the heart acting than just talking. Walk the walk, they just talk. I'm representing youth. Everybody representing youth, and like everybody's a youth. It's just a sugar coat, you see. But really, serious. Young people is more smart. That is why most of them on Instagram than Facebook. The gossip channel and every channel, and they're finding the way. Sure, they're smart to Instagram and say, I don't follow Facebook. You know what I mean? So our young people, they're smart, they're paying attention, and I say they're right. Hold their leaders accountable. Fair opportunities should be given. Equal opportunity should be given, and young people should be able to go after their dreams and not what we think that they should do. We're going to move away, not completely, but we're going to widen. Not just, every training is some mechanic, garmentry making, some welding. We're looking at coding. How do we expand them on IT? We got people can go to the moon also. It's widening at this time. I'm really happy for the level of resources that we're getting as a nation. And the big ticket is education. And the big ticket ones is education, of course, is youth. With all due respect to people like me, yes, we got to we had our opportunities, and I mean, we got to be prepared to pass the baton on. It means that Broome's going to be the minister forever and ever. Somebody else got to come in. So if you're working as a journalist, you'll have other young, persons coming in to the system, and we just don't clog the whole system, pushing the young people out. Young people now, in this day and age, they will tackle it differently. But we got really, 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 really smart young people, intelligent people. We got youths with great ambition. It's not only about some crime and thieving, smoking marijuana. I mean, we got some young people not doing that, making good uses of their life. Are we promoting that enough? No. And we got to promote those positives, so we have other young people give them hope that things is happening. All is not lost. Those that we find going down the road and slipping, we got to try to bring them back. One by one, we can recover them. Crime is not people before. Oh, he's from Leopold Street. He's from Albaiston. He don't have a job. Why you don't get a job? You see, you get people even who got a job and a business and so on. Yeah, and when the cameras speak them, oh, is he? Yeah, but if you had the camera, it gotta be somebody from Tiger Bay. You understand? So all those stigmas, I'm saying to the young people in Tiger Bay and Albaiston, hey, stop this thing. A lot of people said, you're ghetto. You live in the capital city, Georgetown in Guyana. Yeah? Take care of these properties. If your grandmother owned them, don't let somebody come tomorrow and then push you out from the Albaiston what they didn't want with this oil money to take it over. It's not ghetto. It's, get that out your mind. Your mindset. You in the capital city. Equal opportunity. I mean, you could go after it. So we have a lot of these talks in areas like that. So don't have people preach this thing in your mind like once you're in an area that nothing is good there and all is lost. It's about you, I myself, as an adult, coming into the office at Atlanta, I've had my share of all kinds of things because and I want to leave this with young people since we're wrapping up, is that don't have persons change you from who you really are. People say all kind of thing. When His Excellency appointed me, there was all kind of story. Who is she? Where she come from? She come from the bush. They did that to destroy me early, cause me to be who they think I am, without even knowing who I am. But I know who I am, and you got to stand tall to challenges. So for our young people watching, I really want to encourage you, don't go under with challenges. Use the challenges to rise. Motivate yourself with challenges, and the sky is the limit. Because a lot of our young people, they're tensing up and they're frightened. If they got an idea, I put it on Facebook. The bashing they can give me. I mean, so what? I set a fake profile on Facebook. Sometimes who really bashing you, to rise above it.
Minister, as we wrap up, I would like to, where do you see yourself in the political arena going forward as we wrap up today's program?
Atlanta, what were the questions, Atlanta? For me, in the political world, I tell you what, I just live purpose, and that got to be decided by God. Am I sitting down here saying that, I'm excited about some big polls and all that? No. I'm here by purpose. I think this is my calling. I think I'm here, appointed by God. His Excellency, I would always thank him for respecting me, placing the confidence in me and the Guyanese people in giving me the opportunity, in spite of all that was said, give me the opportunity to serve, because serve is an opportunity. People give you an opportunity to serve, and I really want to say thanks, even to the persons who criticize me, even to the persons who lie on me. I want to say thanks. It really helped me. But to tell you, Svetlana, that my ambition is to be this tomorrow and that, no. I want to see a better Guyana. I want the best for Guyana. I think the best people should come forward and serve. And once Guyanese is safe and we're happy, I'm happy. I don't have to be in politics to do what I love to do, like you pointed out early. I was serving my country before. What I can tell you is that I will always serve my country. Yeah, always. I will not stop. I believe in making a difference. I believe in making a change. I believe I can make a change, and I will do that, even if it's in the most simplest of way. I will always fight for making a change. Having the ears for the right people and the people who really need you is very important. That you can listen to your people. Persons face different challenges. Some people say, listen, a man with money, the law sees him different as a man as against somebody without. And there's so much happening and so much more that I can do and give back, that I will continue to do that.
Minister, I must say thank you so much for coming on our show today and talking about human trafficking, mining, youth affairs, very important issues, and continue to do the good work that you're doing. And to our viewers, thank you for joining us today on Vantage Point. We're out of time, but do join us tomorrow for another edition. I've been your host, Wadlala Marshall. Goodbye.